This is the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. In 2025, the Rolex Experience became a contradiction. While the brand continues to promise a crown for every achievement, the reality for many buyers is far from celebratory. What should be a milestone moment is now a carefully controlled exercise in gatekeeping, frustration, and psychological manipulation. In this video brought to you by the Luxury World, we will uncover how the Rolex retail model has evolved, not into a luxury experience, but into a game of status, scarcity, and submission. Please subscribe to Luxury World for exclusive access to upcoming insights, curated content, and expert guidance to help elevate every step of your watch investment journey. The Rolex brand has long positioned itself as the ultimate symbol of personal accomplishment. Decades of masterful marketing have embedded its timepieces into the fabric of historic human milestones. From sponsoring Mercedes Glide's iconic swim across the English Channel in 1927 to modern-day partnerships with Wimbledon, Le Mans, Roger Federer, and Martin Scorsese, Rolex watches have been strategically associated with success. The slogan says it all. It does not just tell time, it tells history. The emotional appeal is powerful. Rolex has cultivated the perception that owning one of its watches is not merely about timekeeping. It is a rite of passage. It is meant to symbolize validation, excellence, and arrival. The boutique experience is intended to be the final, crowning reward in this narrative. But for an overwhelming number of prospective buyers in 2025, this experience has become a disillusioning encounter. Instead of being welcomed into a space of elegance and gratitude, many walk into Rolex boutiques ready to spend thousands, only to find themselves shut out. What greets them is not an invitation, but a rebuke. This begins with the now infamous exhibition-only displays, cases filled with Rolex models that are not for sale. These empty promises instantly create a power imbalance. The individual seeking to purchase is no longer viewed as a customer, but as an applicant, forced to prove their worthiness for the opportunity to spend. The treatment inside many authorized dealerships, or ADs, amplifies this imbalance. Reports from around the globe indicate that many clients are routinely ignored or greeted with indifference, if not outright condescension. The demeanor of sales staff often leans toward aloofness or skepticism, creating a uniquely negative experience, especially when compared to other high-end watch brands, where service remains warm and attentive. And for those who persist in seeking a Rolex, the process reveals itself to be less of a transaction and more of a strategic maze. The myth of a traditional waitlist has long collapsed. Authorized dealers do not operate on a first-come, first-served basis. Instead, they maintain curated interest lists governed by undisclosed internal criteria. To ascend these invisible ranks, prospective buyers are expected to navigate what is now referred to as the AD gauntlet. At the heart of this system lies the concept of purchase history. Those who have previously spent substantial amounts, particularly on high-margin jewelry or less desirable models, are granted priority access. Essentially, the opportunity to buy a coveted steel sports model at retail is not a right, but a reward for financial loyalty. Bundling becomes the second requirement. Many customers are encouraged, or pressured, to purchase precious metal watches, two-tone models, or luxury jewelry items they do not truly want. This tactic inflates the effective cost of obtaining the desired model, as buyers must spend far more than the listed price to secure a future allocation. The third component is relationship cultivation. Establishing a personal connection with a specific salesperson is crucial. Regular visits, subtle expressions of enthusiasm, and a display of long-term interest are all expected. In essence, the authorized dealer experience flips the luxury paradigm on its head. The buyer must court the seller. What is truly being sold in this environment is not the watch itself, but access to purchase a watch at its retail value. This inversion of customer service reflects a broader strategy at play. The perceived scarcity of Rolex watches is not a reflection of limited production, but a result of strategic supply restriction. Rolex manufactures an estimated 1.2 to 1.5 million timepieces annually, commanding over 30% of the Swiss watch market. However, access to specific models, particularly steel sport references like the Daytona, Submariner, and GMT-Master II, is deliberately limited. This manufactured scarcity creates what is known as the halo effect. When these highly desirable models are withheld, demand spills over into the rest of the catalog. A buyer who cannot obtain a steel Daytona may settle for a two-tone Datejust in hopes of increasing their chances later. The empty display case is not a mistake. It is a calculated tool to guide consumer behavior. This strategy fuels a sharp discrepancy between retail prices and gray market values. For instance, a stainless steel Daytona has a retail price of approximately $16,000 in 2025, but commands a market value of around $37,000, representing a premium of 131%. Likewise, a GMT-Master II Pepsi, with a retail price of $11,100, regularly trades for over $23,000 on secondary platforms. Authorized dealers are fully aware of these premiums. By delaying or denying access to models with instant five-figure profits, they are effectively asking customers to demonstrate extraordinary patience and to reject immediate financial gain for the mere possibility of being selected. This dysfunctional structure is not without consequences. A growing segment of affluent buyers is choosing to walk away. Rolex has invested billions to create aspirational demand, only to alienate its own clientele at the point of sale. These customers are not abandoning luxury. They are simply shifting their focus. Brands such as Omega and Grand Seiko are reaping the benefits. Omega boutiques are well-stocked, offering iconic models like the Speedmaster in a transparent, respectful environment. Grand Seiko continues to impress with finishing and craftsmanship that rivals, if not surpasses, Rolex, all while maintaining an accessible and dignified retail experience. One documented example involved a frustrated buyer who, after being snubbed by a Rolex boutique, walked into a Breitling flagship store and spent $20,000 immediately. Stories like this are becoming increasingly common. Competitor brands are effectively gaining customers not through advertising, but through Rolex's own failures. In summary, Rolex has spent over a century building a brand synonymous with excellence and achievement, but in the current landscape, the in-store experience fundamentally contradicts that message. The process of acquiring a Rolex at retail has become an elaborate, manipulative game that serves the interests of dealers, not clients. And in doing so, the brand may be fueling its own undoing. By failing to deliver the luxury experience it promises, Rolex is unintentionally funding its competitors, who are ready to treat buyers with the respect and transparency the crown no longer offers. Meanwhile, competitors are closing the perception gap. Brands like Grand Seiko, Omega, Breitling, and Cartier are stepping forward with accessible, high-quality offerings and boutique experiences that emphasize trust, availability, and craftsmanship. The result is a quiet shift in buyer loyalty, not because the product is inferior, but because the process of acquisition has become untenable. In 2025, the luxury watch world is not just defined by heritage or mechanical brilliance, but by how a brand treats its customers. And in that metric, Rolex may no longer be the leader it once was. What are your thoughts on the realities behind the Rolex buying experience? Feel free to share your perspective in the comments, and if this exploration provided valuable insight into the luxury watch world, consider giving it a thumbs up. For more in-depth analysis and curated content on fine timepieces and market strategy, be sure to follow Luxury World. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to welcoming you in our next video.